Hello and welcome to the final lecture of the BCI week, which is about BCI applications. How can we use brain-computer interface technology and in what sectors and industries? This is going to be a little bit of a longer lecture, but I think it may inspire you for your individual assignment to think of your own BCI application. Let's get started. So for the assignment, I want you to be able to describe BCI applications for disabled or for healthy users, and you should be able to name at least 3 big tech companies investigating brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interfaces, again, are systems that measure your brain activity and translate them into output to improve human-computer interaction or to control devices or to operate software on a computer. You can make a taxonomy of BCI applications on 2 dimensions. And the first is the degree of disability of the user, ranging from people with a disability, a physical disability, to, let's say, healthy people, or the purpose of a BCI. Some BCIs focus on having control over something. So for example, this disabled woman wants to have control over a robot arm, but the purpose may also be to neurofeedback, so to learn the brain something about itself, to train the brain to behave differently. I'm going to show examples of all. This is my own taxonomy that I once made about brain-computer interface application. It looks very boring, I know, but maybe it helps you to understand the applications a little bit better. So on this X-axis, I have the dimension of disabled users to able-bodied users. And here you have the brain as a commander to control things or to have neurofeedback. So let's get started in this left upper corner. For disabled users who have permanent or temporary disabilities, we can use a brain-computer interface to compensate for a lost function. For example, you can communicate again with a brain-computer interface. When you have lost function of a certain limb or have a paralyzed limb, we can try to train you with a brain-computer interface. And if you're able-bodied, maybe you can use a brain-computer interface for a gaming application or for human enhancement. Maybe you could have a third arm to operate your cell phone with while you're biking. This is a bad example, but you get the picture. On the other hand, we can also look at the brain as a learner. So we can use brain-computer interface to show people information about their own brain. And this would help to give you therapy of the brain. For example, if you have a damaged brain after a stroke, or if you have a disordered brain, maybe if you have ADHD or migraine, we can train the brain such that the brain patterns become more normalized. And also we could train the brain to have a new skill maybe with a brain-computer interface. Okay, so this was, I think, the most boring picture of the whole lecture. So now I continue with some applications. Brain-computer interface started with applications for people with a disability. So for example, for communication with users with the locked-in syndrome. Here you can see a man who has locked-in syndrome. And he is looking at, on the other side of this paper is the alphabet system, A to Z, and he's looking at the letter that he wants to select. Because he can't speak, he can't move, he can only blink with his eyes to indicate yes or no. So of course a brain-computer interface would offer him a muscle-independent means of communication. As you know, I do dual lectures with this guy, Paul Trossel, who is my partner in crime. And I want to show you how Paul and I, so when he looks up, he says yes. And when he looks down, he says no.
Hi, wij zijn Paul en Femke. We werken keihard aan de try-out van onze voorstelling Even janken en weer doorgaan. Die plaatsvindt op 3 september in Oosterbeek in de Oude Kerk. Paul, heb je er ook zin in? Ja? Mooi. Vind je dat ik er een beetje leuk uitzie vandaag? Hij zegt duidelijk ja. Tot snel. Doei.
So sorry about the Dutch. I asked him two questions. The first was, are you looking forward to our event? And he said, yes. And then I asked him, do you think I look nice today? And he said, unfortunately, he said no. So these people can use existing communication aids. If you can type with one finger, or if you can move your eyes very well, you can use an eye tracker to communicate with a computer. But if you can't do that anymore, you would need a brain-computer interface. So this is Hanneke de Bruyne. She is a research participant in a study in Utrecht, and she has implanted a brain-computer interface into her brain to help her communicate with the computer. She has the disease ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. So here you see a video very early in her training where she's trying to operate this cursor to move up and down. So she's trying to use the brain-computer interface to hit the targets. And you can see it's going very, very well. Okay, another application, if you don't only want to operate a cursor on a computer screen, you may want to operate a robot arm. So this is Mrs. J from the University of Pittsburgh. She entered into a research in which she wanted to learn how to control a robot arm. And she says, it's the ride of my life. And when they asked her, what do you want to learn? Do you want to hug your children? Do you want to touch your husband again? She said, no, I want to feed myself a piece of chocolate. So this is a good application of a brain-computer interface. Okay. Like I said, we can also use brain-computer interface applications to restore or to normalize brain patterns. And we can start, and we should start, a discussion on what we call normal brain patterns, because of course there's a lot of ethical issues around that, what we call normal, what we don't call normal. Nevertheless, the field exists that we say we have to normalize some of the brain patterns. For example, here you see a girl who is doing a neurofeedback paradigm. She has to control the car on the road, and the car is controlled by her brain activity. And by doing this, let's suppose she has ADHD, which is a brain disorder. She can learn how to normalize her brain activity, and that way she would also feel better. Now, neurofeedback is used successfully in ADHD and in epilepsy. It's kind of proven that it can work in those cases, but you will see that also a lot of companies use it for depression, or for being more happy, for being more focused, overcoming traumas. You see it in all kinds of applications. You can also use a brain-computer interface for rehabilitation after stroke. So here you see a patient that is controlling the electrodes that are stimulating his muscles on his arm with his brain activity. And by doing that, he will probably get more training of his damaged brain sites, and maybe he could quicker recover. That's the reasoning behind that. I'll show you a little piece of this research.
The brain-computer interface is based on electroencephalographic waves, which our brain produces, and depending on which muscle you want to activate, then a special part of the brain will activate. We ask the patient to do a specific type of movement, so that we know we activate a special part of the brain. And then when the patient concentrates on what he wants to do, and the signal is, let's say, good enough, then the relay will be with the electrodes that the patient has on the arm, and so the stimulation will take place, and then you have the movement of the hand. We were approached at some time by the EPFL in Lausanne.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here because the video is much too long to show you completely, just to give you an idea. So let's move on to brain-computer interface applications for able-bodied people. Some people call them healthy people, but I don't want to call people with a disability unhealthy, so let's keep to the term able-bodied people. So what can we do with them with the brain-computer interface? Okay, so think about the news message that we can no longer WhatsApp on the bicycle. So wouldn't it be nice if you don't need a screen in front of you? In fact, I want to ask you who said the following. Put down that addictive drug in front of you that is your smartphone and honor the conversation right in front of you. You will probably not have guessed that this quote is from one of the main managers of Facebook. Regina Duggan said this in April 2017 when Facebook announced the Type with Your Brain project during a Facebook developer conference. And the idea that they posed was, so what if you could type directly from your brain? What Facebook did was they hired around 60 engineers from all over the world and neuroscientists to decipher in your brain what you are verbalizing. So not necessarily your thoughts, but if you think about speaking out loud something, also your brain patterns change. And Facebook wants to decipher this so they can let you type with your brain. Of course, you can ask yourself the question, do I want Facebook to read my thoughts? Also, Microsoft has patents on brain-computer interfacing and is developing these types of applications. What if you didn't need a screen anymore? Also, Elon Musk is working on brain-computer interfaces through his company Neuralink. Neuralink is trying to make neural lace or neural dust, which are very tiny sensors that they can splatter on your cortex. So it's an invasive sensor that can very organically fold itself around your brain. And with that, Elon Musk wants to connect you. This is how that could look like. Wants to connect you to artificial intelligence. Because Elon Musk thinks that artificial intelligence is going to take control over us humans. And he thinks that if we couple ourselves with artificial intelligence, with a BCI, with a brain-computer interface, we will still beat the system and outsmart them. Of course, this links to a lot of ethical debates on where are the boundaries of humans and what is our relation with technology. We can also use brain-computer interfaces for cognitive enhancement of healthy people, so not necessarily for children with ADHD or people with a brain disorder, but maybe also you yourself can do cognitive enhancement by training your own brain. That's a different kind of application. We also see applications of BCI in the arts, and I brought a couple of examples here. So the first is, this is a picture from De Waag, two artists that are testing how love will look like in the future. And can we see if two people love each other if we visualize their EEG data? Is their EEG data synchronized somehow? Can we see coherence in better loving couples? These are questions you can also think about. Now, this is work from an artist, Adi Heusle, who I worked with in the past. And Adi is intrigued by the appearance and the output of the brain activity. And he had the idea, maybe if I make a sculpture of my own EEG And if I touch it again, I will have the same feeling again as that I have when I was having those thoughts. In the same way, he's also used this very nice painting of EEG. What are you looking at here? So I couldn't believe it, but this is the neuro scarf. This is somebody who has made a scarf of his own EEG signals. Some people, very nerdy people, are very into this. I would also like to have such a scarf. But of course, this is an application that you would probably not think about so quickly, but which is a lot of interest in. Finally, an application about how you can make music with a brain-computer interface. So here you have musicians and one is being measured with a brain-computer interface, and you can add an extra music channel or melody by using your brain and to have a BCI composed music. With all these applications, maybe you think, wow, what are we heading to? And a lot of people have this ethical debate around brain-computer interfaces. And for these reasons, I think that we really need ethicists, philosophers, and artists to work with us on BCI applications. As we know, is we put our hope in technology, but our trust in nature. So everything we do, everything we build needs to be well explained. That was today's lecture. Thank you for your attention and see you tomorrow in the classroom. Bye-bye.